Since the full release of Outlast Trials, the player base has skyrocketed. As more players get the hang of the game, casual players and grinders will be attempting to obtain the 100 Reborn trophy. Even fewer people will join me and a few friends in grinding towards 1000 because we're just insane. If you want to aim for these milestones, then it's worth learning how to start speedrunning and clearing trials as fast as you can. To be clear, this isn't a guide for competing with world records, but to help you consistently finish trials at a fast pace. Unlike my other guides where I usually pause and label things as I go, I'll just be talking over my recorded gameplay. I can't exactly teach you what to do in every situation, I can only give you general information you're going to need to apply those to your games. Before we get started, a lot of people have asked me how to change the FOV. Do a Windows search and open Run. Type in % local app data % and hit OK. This will get you in the local directory. Next go OPP, saved, config, Windows client, and open game. Copy and paste the string, which is also in the description. The default FOV is 90, but I prefer to play on 120. As you get into speedrunning, you need to get grades out of your head if you want to maximize your speed. I really don't understand the community's obsession with getting an A+ every game because at some point money will be useless. I stopped caring about grades when I unlocked all the cosmetics because I figured out that I'll have more than enough money to buy out the entire shop as I grind towards 100 reborns. As of now, I have over 2 million in game with nothing to use it on. Money adds up quickly, so getting an A+ every game becomes meaningless when grinding because of the amount of time it takes when you're being cautious and looking for posters. For the most part, you're going to be taking damage, abusing psychosis, and running into traps all the time, all of which negatively impact your grade. So focusing on A+ means more times in trials, which also means fewer tokens and less rebirths. With that out of the way, we can start with the basics. Speedrunning in general combines map knowledge and knowing objective spawns, and when you put these two together, you can start creating faster routes and optimizing your pathing. While knowing the map is important, you also need to learn how to quickly adjust if the map is blocked off or there's an enemy in the area. As you do this, you're going to passively learn item spawns such as bricks and adrenalines, which helps out a lot for certain trials. I'll leave a link to Ace Delusional's trials guide in the description. You'll find general information about speedrunning, but he also has maps marked with objectives so you can learn them as you play. Starting off with rigs, I highly recommend you use stun because it's just completely busted after 1.0. It got a massive buff and now has a 93-second cooldown when you hit enemies and 25 if you don't. It provides valuable utility to yourself and your teammates. Not only does it fully recharge your night vision and stamina, it disarms floor and explosive traps, which is useful in certain maps. This allows for a more aggressive playstyle where you can get caught in really bad situations and easily get out by stunning all enemies around you. You should also take advantage of the short cooldown by stunning your teammates, pushing and holding heavy objects before they get exhausted. Blind Rig got buffed, so it's actually usable now. It takes a long time to deploy, but it actually does its job. During the Winter Kills nerf, it was unusable in speedruns because the cloud was too short and it had more negatives than positives. This doesn't mean it's bad, it just didn't have enough utility when you're moving fast. That being said, it can still be very useful. The Heal Rig is a good option when you start speedrunning because you're going to be making a lot of mistakes and getting hit. It can also be used to heal your whole team during an intermission, which is where I see it being used the most. I've personally never used Heal Rig once, but if someone in my lobby is using it correctly, they're great. Just seriously, don't be the guy that only heals themselves. Finally, we have X-Ray, and let's be honest, if you're using this, you're either memeing or going for an A+. It provides almost nothing when you're actually speedrunning. Amps complement specific playstyles, so something you use in speedruns won't necessarily be useful for casual play, and something you use for casual games might not be useful in speedruns. Let's start with tools first. Slippers doesn't really do much for you because you're going to be running over glass all the time. Cacophony has no value since you'll be alerting enemies. Battery Charger is useless if you or anyone else on your team is using a stun. Lockbreaker doesn't really do much because you're not going to be picking up items while speedrunning unless you're in an intermission. Recycle is also pretty useless because bottles don't do much in general. Keymaster isn't worth it because you're not going to be lockpicking. You're going to be playing fast and loud, so you won't be using any of these. You can use noise reduction, but I have reasons not to use it. When you play without it, you're loud and enemies hear you from a crazy distance. This forces you to move around and do objectives quicker than you usually would because of the added pressure of an enemy showing up in a few seconds. For the tool slot, I like to play with Backpack because it's the most unserious and funniest amp and we just love to use it for the memes. In all seriousness, you should use noise reduction. In the skill category, you won't be using the 3 hiding amps, quick escape, or door trap breaker because they don't provide anything in speedruns. It's also a shame that enemies stagger you all the time because it makes quick escape useless. It used to be good, but now it's bad. I don't know whose idea it was to add staggering because you can't always cancel the animation, so you have shit like this happening all the time. Okay, hold on, I want to test something. What the fuck is... Bro, why is
I don't want to live forever, bro. We're listening to the fucking 50 Shades of Grey soundtrack as Red Barrels keeps fucking me.
For skills, you want to either be using strong arm or smash. I'd recommend taking strong arm when you first start speedrunning, and when you're fast enough where doors start getting annoying, then you could transition over to smash. You should also consider the trial or MK challenge you're about to do and debate whether smash or strong arm is more useful. If you're dealing with witnesses, take strong arm. If you're in a map where lots of doors are barricaded or locked, take smash. Finally, we have invisible, which might not be your best bet. You won't be hiding while speedrunning, but if you're playing on ultra and need to lose enemies, it's useful. Enemies completely lose you while you're in a hiding spot, even if you were just being chased. You have a few choices for medicine, but you won't be using double doses, surplus, incognito, good job, or self-revive. Antitoxin is great when you want to abuse psychosis or get rid of all the mines on the map, especially if you're on ultra because Skinnerman will shred your health faster than you can blink. If you don't understand what I mean by abusing psychosis, I recommend watching my movement guide. Boosted is one of my favorite amps to play with unless I get the battery booster 9 times in a row, which is actually pretty common. I wouldn't recommend taking boosted on ultra because the chances of getting the stamina booster is way too low to be considered useful in a game mode where enemies can easily two-shot you and are way more aggressive than usual. That being said, I still think Last Chance is one of the best amps, and I usually only use it on ultra because I think it's useless on programmed Genesis and X where you can get away with anything since it feels like enemies will just tickle you. Amps are flexible regardless, so you need to figure out what works and what doesn't work for you. I personally use Backpack, Smash, and Boosted. On ultra, I swap Boosted for Last Chance in trials or Antitoxin for MK challenges. Now that you have all the general information and learned how to set yourself up for speedrunning, we can actually get into the playstyle. You need to step out of your comfort zone. If you want to start speedrunning but you're a player that crouches all the time and takes things slow, nothing's going to change. You need to start running around the map and clearing objectives as fast as you can while learning how to navigate around and dealing with enemies. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, but as long as you learn from them, they shouldn't be a common occurrence. If you have a group of friends to play with, then you should split objectives equally so everyone contributes. The main goal of this is so you don't overwhelm yourself with everything at once. You focus on one side of the map and complete the objectives in the area as fast as you can while also trying to race your friends. When you think you're fast enough and have it nailed down, rotate with everyone. For example, in Feed the Children, there's 4 sections where bleaches spawn: pool, laundry, basement, and chapel. Have one person assigned to each section, and if you're a duo, then you can take one half of the map while your friend takes the other. When you're comfortable with your side, you can rotate with your friend, and the next game you can take their side and they take yours. You can apply this to every trial where the objectives are split. The key here is for your group to be coordinated. The most effective way to get the ball rolling is by starting with Genesis. You're only dealing with 1 or 2 enemies, so you can start running around carelessly. Once that's too easy, move on to Program X, where there's multiple enemies that do a decent chunk of damage. I say once you're able to finish MK challenges under 4 minutes and trials under 10, then you're already faster than most people that play the game. While running around, one thing you need to start paying attention to is your health. When I'm full in health, I take a lot of stupid risks that I wouldn't have taken if I only had 1 bar. When you have full health, you want to always be running around so you can figure out what you can and can't get away with. That way when you're on 1 bar, you'll know whether a risky play is worth it to save time. You should also be relying on your rig constantly, especially if you're running stun. Pay attention to the small details in each map and figure out if you can use the environment to your advantage. If you juke an enemy and realize it was a good play, you shouldn't think that's the only place it could have happened. There's plenty of places you could do these things. If you aren't actively looking for them, believe me that it's going to happen on accident, as long as you're always running around. And while you're running around, you should also be aware of where you are at all times so you can take the fastest route to where you need to be. As you gain more knowledge of the maps, you'll see what I'm talking about. If you're a solo player, then you already know the only person you can rely on is yourself. You need to set a realistic time you think you can beat. When you attempt it, save the video regardless of whether you beat the time or not. Then watch it and try to figure out where you made mistakes or could have saved time. You learn something new every game, so you're going to see improvements over time. Speedrunning is hard to learn in this game because there's such a big learning curve, especially for people that started playing after full release. There's going to be a lot of challenges you deal with, but once you figure out what works, then it's going to be smooth sailing. Just be persistent and have fun with the game. Becoming a speedrunner doesn't necessarily mean you get world records all the time. It just means you can consistently get good times regardless of RNG. Even if your times are nowhere near close to world records, as long as you're proud of what you got, that's all that matters. If you want to share your times or learn a few strategies, join our Discord link in the description. We're a small community with a little over 200 people, and you're going to see some of the fastest and best players in the game. And as weird as it might sound, I'm not perfect at all. I actually make a ton of mistakes when I'm playing with my main groups. You usually see my speedruns where everything is going well and we're moving fast, but what you don't see are the games where I go down, and sometimes I'm the reason the run fails. But it's like I said, learn from the mistakes so it doesn't happen in future games. And finally, there's many ways to play. If speedrunning isn't for you, then that's all there is to it. There's nothing wrong with being a casual player, and as a matter of fact, most of the friends I've met on Outlast trials are actually casual players, and I always have fun with them. You shouldn't go around harassing people if you're better than them, because at the end of the day, it's just a game and we all play for fun. It also seems like I'm gaining some popularity on this game, so I just want to thank everyone that subscribed or even watches these videos. I might start streaming on Twitch, so if you want to see my speedruns live, go follow the channel. Link's also going to be in the description. Good luck with your rebirths.